going to begin by recording this meeting so that everyone is aware. And I would like to welcome you to the U.S. Chess School-based Chess Outreach meeting. My name is Renee Bartlett, and I am co-chair of the Chess and Education Committee, and I'm coming to you from Madison, Alabama. I'd like to begin by introducing the co-hosts for this meeting. I'm going to begin with my co-chair of the Chess and Education Committee, John Galvin. John, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm John Galvin. I run a Scholastic program in a middle school in Brooklyn, New York.
Thank you, John. We also have, as co-hosts of this meeting this evening, our chair and vice chair of the Scholastic Council. John Rockefeller is the chair. John, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm from Maryland, and I'm the Scholastic Director of Maryland Chess.
And we also have the vice chair of the Scholastic Council, Danny Rode. Danny?
Hi, Danny Rode, New York State Scholastic Coordinator. And yeah, just ready to rock and roll here, Renee.
Thank you, Danny. We are so excited to have so many people registered for this event. We are recording it because many could not attend, but they would want to see the recording afterwards. And we also have, last but not least, our Executive Director, Carol Meyer. Carol, introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here and for your interest in tonight's meeting. It's really great to see the enthusiastic support for it.
We're really excited to have so many people in the Scholastic community in chess, as well as educators and teachers who are trying to start chess clubs. And that's why we began the outreach. It started with a survey from US Chess. So the first thing on our agenda is Carol Meyer explaining what the State Scholastic Survey was to the coordinators, the State Scholastic Coordinators, and what some of the results were of that survey.
Yeah, thank you, Renee. So this evening, I'd like to share a very high-level overview of some of the results from the survey we did. The survey wrapped up in mid-October. We gave about 3-4 weeks for the state scholastic coordinators to complete it. For those who are new to US Chess, the state scholastic coordinators are people designated by the state chapter. That's the body within US Chess that elects delegates to our board of delegates, and they have some official governing duties for each state where they're located. And the state scholastic coordinators are integral to helping US Chess run state championships, which identify qualifiers for some of the invitational tournaments we as an organization run. We felt that this meeting tonight was really important because we know that so many programs had difficulty during the 2.5 years that we've been in the pandemic, and that many programs have gone away. Others were hanging on by a thread, and still others have come into being. So if this is your first event back, welcome back. And if tonight is your first event with US Chess, welcome to the community. We're really glad you're here. So as I said earlier, tonight I'll be sharing a little bit of the highlights from our survey. And I want you to understand that the survey was designed to really elicit information about 2 specific areas of focus that we have. One is scholastic chess, which is really chess competition, tournament chess under the US Chess auspices, and then chess and education, which is a newer area that we're focusing on, though there is a lot of activity in the education space across the country and in different places. And US Chess has been asked by many to do more for teachers who are finding themselves in a position of having to teach chess when they really know very little about it. So let me get my presentation up here and share my screen. And so I want to talk initially about the very high level data. We sent the survey out to the 52 or 53 state scholastic coordinators that were in our database. You're probably wondering why we have more than 50. We count the District of Columbia, and the state of California is split into 2 jurisdictions, so they have two coordinators. We've received 22 responses. 19 of those response sets actually had good data. And we did receive 2 responses from a single state, where one of those states has multiple coordinators. And we looked at both sets of data, and where it was very quantitative, the data was the same, but we're able to pull good insights from both sets of responses. So the survey was designed to better differentiate between scholastic chess and chess and education, as I described before what those 2 things are. And for anybody who's new, state scholastic coordinators generally support tournament chess. They generally support scholastic chess. Some may or may not have any involvement with chess and education. So I'll start with the results from the scholastic chess portion. I'm not going to read each of these points, but I think the most pertinent data from these slides is the how states choose to send different people to the invitationals that are supported by US Chess each summer at the US Open. 10 of the 18 states actually run their own scholastic championships. I think 5 states do a contract out to others, and then some years a state will run its own, and some years it contracts it out. There's no consistency for some states. I think that's very interesting, because the rules with who gets assigned to these invitational events vary from state to state as well. And so I think depending on where a state is, there's good reasons for that kind of flexibility and allowing them to run events in a way that best meet their needs. The scholastic point of contact is not always the same person who handles chess for girls and women in the state. And 5 of the 18 states reported that they had a separate point of contact for girls and women. Again, I think that's an interesting data point, given how I think most states, and certainly US Chess, are looking at how we better support opportunities for girls in the game, and most importantly, how to retain them in the game. And having a dedicated person at the state level, I think, puts a local face on that, and it's probably very effective to have somebody in that role. The 12 of the 18 states did report that their state scholastic coordinator assists people wanting to start school chess programs or chess in school programs, but they didn't seem to have as much knowledge about what the needs were in that place as other information we collected during the survey indicated. And then finally, regarding youth memberships, not all state associations are organized the same way. And so some of them don't even have memberships themselves. And so a good number of states don't differentiate between their youth and adult memberships. So we asked in the survey a series of questions about like, what do people need? What are you hearing they need? What do you think they need in terms of getting started with a chess and education program? And this word cloud gives you some sense of the answers. By far, curriculum was the thing that teachers seemed to struggle the most with. Equipment was another need, memberships, bulk memberships, professional development for teachers, links to tournaments, a startup guide. How do we launch a program? All of these things were very consistently reported across all the states. And I know that the Chess and Education Committee and the Scholastic Council are both working on different elements in response to this, even before we had these survey results. So I think we're in a very good position to better meet those needs moving forward. One of the areas where we've seen some growth at our scholastic events and the importance with trying to deal with the nuances of homeschool programs is we wanted to better understand how many states have homeschool chess programs. And as you can see, 14 of the 18 that responded indicated there were homeschool chess programs, but no state has reported a separate championship for homeschools. So there's this coordination to do everything under one umbrella, which is the state chapter. And the state chapter, frankly, is the only body that can award a state championship. So my guess is that's why they haven't emerged, but no state has taken the step to offer a separate state homeschool championship for chess at this time. And the final data point that I'm going to talk about here is the idea of certification for chess teachers. And the results were really mixed, and I was very surprised at the data. And I think we would like to continue to learn more about the way people think about this, because 9 respondents said, yeah, this is a great idea. 7 were dead set against it, and 2 provided a more nuanced response of kind of like, it depends. And for those who were against teacher certification, most of the people who were against it thought it might prevent or put up an artificial barrier for people getting started. It could be costly, it could be time consuming, and this may be in places where less chess activity is going on. And so anything that felt like more work to get started would be a detriment to the effort. And so I'm going to stop there and hand it back over to our moderator, Renee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carol. We had one question in the chat box as to whether this survey result would be made available to the participants on the call.
So I can share my PowerPoint slides. We are not at liberty to share some of the other results because we haven't completely finished coding some of the qualitative responses we received. So I'm happy to share the slides that I put together.
Okay, thank you, Carol. And because we have people on the call who are involved in the scholastic role of conducting tournaments, as well as educators in schools or those who may be watching the recording, we wanted to delineate the roles of the Scholastic Council and the Chess and Education Committee. So we're going to begin with the chair, John Rockefeller, and let him describe to you what the Scholastic Council's role is and some of their upcoming events.
So the Scholastic Council is comprised of 7 members elected by the Scholastic Committee, which varies between 30 and 35 members. Our primary purpose is to advise the executive board when they make decisions about matters scholastic. So as you can imagine, during COVID, we worked intimately with the executive board, on bringing, US Open invitationals online, the nationals online, and then back to over the board. So those transitions were interesting and required a lot of work. We also oversee the revisions of the scholastic regulations, and each year they're being tweaked. One of us is appointed a scholastic representative for each national event. So if there's a appeal of the Chief TD's ruling, there's a process. and the Scholastic rep is involved in that. Additionally, we meet once a month, and our goal is to, have a pulse on matters, Scholastic matters. For example, with regard to kind of looping them all three in, at high school nationals last year, there were, the other thing is we run a Scholastic meeting that's about an hour at each Scholastic nationals. And in high school nationals last year, there were quite a few complaints about time control. So then Carol Meyer and Boyd Reed, director of events, put together very quickly a survey. We gave out the survey to participants, compiled the data, and from that we were motivated to revise the time control for all national events. So the new time control for all high school, middle school, elementary school, and grade nationals will be G90 D10. So things like that. When we hear from issues from that people bring up, we try to respond to them if we think that's in the best interest of Scholastic Chess. And so yes, there'll be the grade nationals in December, and then there'll be high school nationals, middle school nationals, elementary school nationals. I mean, another thing we did is also, I'm not saying junior high nationals. So in the past couple of years, we transitioned from junior high nationals to middle school nationals. So now ninth graders are no longer eligible for middle school nationals. And instead of 2 championship sections, K8, K9, in junior high nationals, there's now just 1 championship section, 8th grade, the K to 8 in the middle school nationals. And then there's all girls as well. So those, the 3 spring nationals, and then grade nationals in December.
Okay, thank you, John. Now we'd like to share with you the role of the Chess and Education Committee. And John Galvin, my co-chair, is going to introduce you to the Chess and Education Committee and what we've been working on.
Thanks, Renee. So the Chess and Education Committee committee itself has been around for quite a while, but we were tasked by the executive board last year to breathe some more life into the activities of chess and education. So last year there was a committee formed, and the committee met all last year and produced a report to the executive board, which made a set of recommendations to basically increase the quantity and quality of chess education in the United States. There's a lot of work to be done in terms of increasing membership, increasing access, lowering barriers to play, and developing teachers who are capable of teaching chess in the ordinary classroom. So the Chess and Education Committee is not dealing with nationals or developing IMs and GMs. It's really at a grassroots level, developing the game primarily in schools, in all kinds of settings, but primarily U.S. schools. And there was a set of recommendations. This year, we're working on basically 2 areas to get things going. One is developing a place on the U.S. Chess website for resources, a place where teachers can go to find resources, to get recommendations. There are so many different products available that we really want to have a place where the math teacher teaching in Tulsa, Oklahoma, doesn't know much about how to teach chess, a place that they can go to begin to get recommendations for how to implement programs, frequently asked questions, a place where people can begin to find out more about how to teach chess in a classroom. So that's one area that we'll talk a little bit more about a little bit later this evening. So that's the resources part. The second area that we're going to be doing this year, beginning in January, is offering a monthly webinar on different educational topics. Really what we want to begin to do is, and this is kind of the first meeting we've had with it, we've got now people from all over the country who all do the same work, and that Zoom can bring together. There's a national organization for teachers of math, national organization for teachers of English, but we don't really have something where the teachers of chess can gather, share ideas, learn from one another. And so that's what we're going to begin doing in January with a series of webinars, friendly meetings, meet and greets, We're going to have different topics about how to teach chess, interviews with people who teach chess in the classroom, sharing ideas, and then breakout rooms where people can learn from one another and share common problems. So those are the two areas that we've been working on, and be on the lookout for our first meeting in January.
Okay, thank you, John, for that summary. Now, those of you who signed on to this meeting, you probably noticed a survey link in the chat box. We wanted to use this opportunity because so many people had registered, so we'll be sending this link out to those who were not able to attend tonight, along with the recording of the meeting. But for those of you who are here, there were 3 questions that we wanted to solicit your feedback on. And the 3 questions in the survey that you can feel free to fill out while we're in this meeting or afterwards are: how can US Chess help you grow chess in your school or community? What webinar topics would you like us to cover in the future? Webinars being the thing that John Galvin had just talked about and helping develop teachers as they're teaching chess in schools. And what can we do to improve outreach? That's in general in US Chess, whether it's Scholastic Council or the Chess and Education Committee. Now, we had also solicited questions in advance of the meeting, and what we have gleaned from the survey results is that a lot of the questions are very basic in terms of how to get started. Where do I go? Where are the resources? And so I'm going to direct questions that were submitted to us. And then if any of you have questions that you would like us to answer this evening, you can type those to the host in the chat box, but we're going to begin with some of the previously submitted questions. So I'm going to begin first with John Galvin with Chess and Education. And a lot of the questions that we were receiving were from teachers who wanted to know, how do I get started? What kind of materials can I use? What equipment do I need? And John, you had referenced a webpage that we're working on developing in the Chess and Education Committee. And I think Carol can share her screen and show you what this website is looking like. And John, you want to kind of take us through what people are going to see?
Yeah, so we're just launching this early this upcoming week. Our committee has been working, baby steps at first to begin creating a web page on the US Chess website where teachers will be able, or educators will be able to go to find resources. So this is the page that will go live at some point early this week. And it's impossible for me to, in a few minutes, to talk about how to get started and what materials. I mean, that's really the goal of what the committee is going to be doing. We've heard from a lot of people that they don't know how to start. A lot of teachers think chess is some mysterious game that only super geniuses know how to play, but it's like any academic subject that you can learn how to teach it. We want to provide an entry point for beginner teachers who have not taught chess before, but after some materials, at some point we want to offer some webinars, courses. That's when we were kind of talking about the certification piece, what that'll look like, but something where people can educate themselves on how to be a competent chess teacher to beginners to begin with. So this webpage will go live shortly, and we hope that it will begin to answer many of these key questions of like, where do I even start if I've never taught chess before?
Okay, so Carol, do you want to take us through a few of the links? We began with the resources for chess educators, and you're seeing our focus first is free. We're going to give as much free stuff out as possible, information, and we are also soliciting your suggestions as well of what should be on there. So we're going to be sending you this link, everyone who registered, to see what's on there that are free and available for teachers now, or you can also send us an email to add other suggestions. Also on the landing page in Chess and Education, we wanted teachers to know about upcoming events like our event here tonight. There's also one coming up in Mississippi, teaching chess beyond the basics. And we're going to add more like the webinars that John Galvin explained that we were going to be developing. And you would see the dates for those webinars on the upcoming events page. And we've also built a chess grants and awards for educators page. And we've started off with chess grants that are available now to provide free resources to teachers. It might be equipment, it might be curriculum online, or chess sets to have in the classroom. And we're also adding, we're separating this by nationwide and regional grants and awards. And we're sharing information about this outstanding Andy Lerner Award for Excellence in Chess Education. And so you can be reading about those and sending us information about others that should be highlighted, whether it's in your state or whether it's a nationwide award or grant. And we would be happy to help this page grow. It's going to grow organically, and throughout the year, you will see more and more resources being put on that page. And Carol, I believe you said we would have that ready sometime next week. We think we can launch the website that we've been developing. The Chess and Education Committee will continue to add other resources. We will be working on those that we would recommend for purchase as well. But we're starting off with free stuff. So if you've got free stuff, send that right now, because that's our priority to help our teachers. Okay, the next question I'm going to direct to our Vice Chair, Danny Rode. And this question is, do my students need a U.S. Chess membership?
The interesting part of this is that students don't actually need a U.S. Chess membership to be in a school program. Not every person or not every child who plays chess will end up playing in a tournament. In order to play in a tournament and get a rating, which I know is also another question, you do need a U.S. Chess membership. So that's a little bit of the difference. And I think at times you think that everyone needs to have a membership. We want to see everyone get a membership, and we want to eliminate the barriers to those options for membership, because it builds the cycle of tournament play and of being a part of the organization. But you don't necessarily have to have everyone, and it's not a requirement, but it's the route to continue the growth for every kid who runs into a program. So it's part of, seeking out how to get a membership, which is the part that we should all be looking to do, which is what is our goal with membership? It's to loop everyone into the U.S. Chess organization, into the Scholastic community, into maybe playing their first tournament and taking it slow. So I think it's a misconception out there that everyone needs to have a membership right away. No, not at all. Just build your program first, start with a class. That's it. Then have a second class. And in a group of, say, 15 students, you might have only 3 to 5 of those students end up getting a U.S. Chess membership. That's great. So it's up to each family. And the other thing is cost too, because junior memberships are less than adult memberships. And I believe the youth membership is $20 for 1 year for the average membership. And then there are some other special membership options and bulk membership options. And if it's a Title I school, then they can reach out. And I think that's the other thing. So part of it is reaching out to U.S. Chess for just to communicate and to say, here's where I am. I am in, Denver, Colorado. I'm in a Title I school, and I need to get a voucher program, right? And so I need help because I don't have the funding to help my students get memberships. And how do I get started? And so that's where we need to all communicate with one another and to make the options available to make it easy for someone who wants to get memberships for their students. And it's the beginning. And I think that's the other thing here. We can all work together here to communicate with one another and make everyone start to see just how great that this all is.
Thank you, Danny. And for anyone who does have questions, you can add those to the chat box, but I'm going to go to the next one. And I'm going to direct it and start with John Galvin, but John Rockefeller or Danny Rode, you may want to jump in on this one because this is a question we get a lot. about how to fund a new chess program. And John, I'm going to start with you and just let you tell us how you fund your chess program at your school.
So I think I mean our program in Brooklyn is largely funded through in New York City we have a generous after school program that's supported by the city. So there's been a big effort, at least in New York, but I hope other places, where to not see after school programs as extras, but rather see them as essentials. And I think I want to put the larger context of what we're trying to do, at least partly with chess and education, is to build a critical mass of educators who can advocate for chess education. No one would ask Renee in Alabama how she funds her football team, right? I'm sure they've got enough funding for their football team. No one would even ask that question. But when it comes to chess, it's some people are, why? And chess is really inexpensive in terms of materials compared to so many other after-school programs or sports. But what we really want to do is create a momentum. We'd love to have an organization of chess educators with several thousand people who can both push the organization, US Chess, to remove barriers, to open more doors, to set up programs that make it easier to fund a program. Most of the funding is probably, in the long run, is probably labor costs, and so part of that is no one wants to run a chess program if they don't know how to do it. And so part of that is the education piece with opening up education to the teachers so that they feel more comfortable. Honestly, we don't have a unlimited program to start funding chess educators all across the country. That's not really realistic. That's not what we can do. But part of it is celebrating. What we also want to do in chess education is have a place on the website where local success stories. In every newspaper across the country, they're always, whenever a team does well at nationals, the local papers are always picking it up. And we want that to continue and have a place where teachers could point to success stories. Lots of people want chess programs, it seems to me, but part of what we need to do is grow that teacher base where people feel competent to teach chess in the classroom.
Well, thanks, John. Danny, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, Renee, it's interesting because I know John was touching on his school in Brooklyn, and most schools in New York City, they fundraise through just hosting a tournament, and then they'll have a pizza sale or some type of food option for all the people who come in for the afternoon. And most of that money goes towards either the PTA at the school or to help fund coaching or to travel or to help, obtain a membership. So it's almost like its own sort of cycle of using the community a little bit. And then there's also finding ways to have corporate sponsorship, I think is helpful, and finding that one donor in your local area who really likes chess and who wants to be involved in the local area, and sometimes it can be at the state level, sometimes at the national level. I know on the development committee, Carol, I know this, you've told me this, that the at-risk youth category for US Chess has been the single most biggest improvement in terms of donations into the national organization. So it is out there. There are people who want to be a part of this, and we have to help put it together.
Thanks. John Rockefeller, do you have anything you want to add on how you've heard of programs being funded?
Danny covered it.
Okay, great. I will share with you that in the school system that I'm in, I was a former school board member and very supportive of educating students on chess and how to play, whether they play competitively or not. And in my school system, our school board actually pays stipends for academic team coaches, just like athletic team coaches. And so we're also the #1 school system in the state of Alabama, and academics are very important, as well as football, John. So sometimes you will find school systems or PTAs who will help, or those nonprofit organizations. I run one of those and help support and provide chess sets locally. And there are other regional resources that we know of. And we did receive a question in the chat box on this regarding whether you see curriculum being available in different languages. Do any of you, are you familiar with online or curriculum platforms that offer teaching materials in different languages?
Like in Spanish?
Yes,
For
Spanish
example?
was one that was named in particular, yes.
I'm not sure if I've seen any online resources for that. I think it's a good project. I haven't seen that as of yet. But it would be a great project to get it into, especially Title I areas in this sort of situation where the school that you're a part of, it maybe English is not the first language. And, you know, we're in a situation where it would be good to get the chessboard, which translates into all languages. The chessboard is 64 squares, and if you can do it in English, you can do it in Spanish. So, you know, I think that's an important element here, which is trying to translate it. I know Carol just put something into the chat here. So it definitely is possible. But I haven't seen anyone really come up with a way to really just have it other than a translation of current documents and current resources.
Yes, and Carol has also provided and noted that Chess Kid lessons are translated into several languages, including Spanish. That's an online platform. Also, we had a question about how to train people who are not not as knowledgeable about chess. There are certain outside groups who might come in to teach chess, but if you were just a classroom teacher that wanted to introduce your students to chess, would we have materials available? And John Galvin, I think you can answer that what we're trying to do is indeed helping those classroom teachers who do not know how to play chess, but giving them resources.
I think that's exactly the question. I mean, the answer to the question is we currently don't have much for people like that, or it's not organized in one place. So that is definitely something that we're working on in terms of the resources piece, to try to, you know, train up or provide the ability for the, you know, the math teacher who has been asked to run the chess club after school, some sort of baseline knowledge that they can acquire to be competent at teaching chess. So that's really one of the big projects we want to work on, because what we realize is that you know, it is definitely an area for massive growth. There's you know, I don't know what the number is, something like 120,000 schools in the United States, you know, and how many of them actually have active chess classes? It's very small. The area for potential growth is huge, but you can't grow if you're expecting to have a chess master teach every class. It's not going to happen. But you can, and you don't need a chess master to teach beginners.
John, I'd like to piggyback on something you just said, and I think when I spoke earlier, I talked about the two areas that we're focused on. In no way do I want to leave the impression that these two areas are mutually exclusive. And I think there's a lot of synergy between chess and education and scholastic chess, and one flows naturally to the other. And so, you know, I appreciated Danny's comments about how, you know, the kind of communication that's going on between the Scholastic Committee and Council and the new Chess and Education Committee needs to continue so that we can grow opportunities for chess educators of all types. And you know, within that, I would, you know, include chess coaches, even though we're trying to distinguish them between classroom educators. So just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Carol. Danny Rode, I have another question I'd like to direct your way that was submitted. How do my students get a rating?
Ooh, to get a rating, first you will need a US Chess membership, because in order to get a rating with US Chess, you have to be a member of the organization. The other thing is you would need to play in a tournament, and usually a tournament needs a tournament director, And that is something that is a little bit of a barrier, but it's not really a barrier. It's how to learn how to become a club tournament director. And part of that is, for now, simply getting a copy of the rule book and applying to be a club tournament director. And then there's some various things associated with it. And then you run a tournament, you submit it to US Chess, and then the students can get a rating. Depending on the time control, okay? Depending on the time control, they will get a normal rating, a quick rating, or a blitz rating. And keep in mind, if you run the tournament online, okay, it has to be online rated by US Chess. Something rated on Lee Chess or on ICC or chess.com only is not a rated event. That a rated event is something specifically that is rated by US Chess. So that is a big distinction, because what we're seeing now, especially in COVID and post-COVID, is a lot of kids simply have never been introduced to a normal tournament environment. They're only playing online, and they haven't been shown what it's like to get a normal rating. Oh, well, I have a Lee Chess rating of 1500. Well, what does that mean? Right. And so we have to all do a good job of explaining what a US Chess rating is and how to obtain it.
Thank you, Danny. We had another related question about tournaments, and one of the challenges is the cost of getting to tournaments, especially since they're on weekends and sometimes school buses are not always available. And the question that was submitted was, what about creating a USCF online Scholastic League, or a low-cost alternative to giving students an opportunity to play rated chess?
You know, there's online tournaments that are available, and you can easily rate a tournament that is played online from a computers now. And I think that's with the new rating system that's been offered by US Chess to have online rated games, especially. And so that's a big factor here to make it a little bit more low cost, to eliminate the travel. That is something that is there. Also making sure that entry fees, you try to keep them as low as possible. If you have to have entry fees, a lot of Scholastic tournaments have no entry fees. That would be ideal. And to not have to do that. There are budget constraints on rent and other things that might prevent someone from hosting a tournament. But at the end of the day, the simple thing is organize a group of students who want to play in a tournament. And it could be from one school, it could be from 3 schools, it could be from 5 schools in the local area, and try to get a 10-player tournament and then a 20-player tournament. And then maybe it will grow slowly, but if you grow your own community, you can find that you can create your own little network of tournaments. And I think that's part of it as well. So that's how you create sort of the rating buffers that we're talking about.
Thanks, Danny. Carol, if you would not mind, could you put in the chat box the email address for people who have resources or suggestions that they could send in to the Chess and Education Committee, because we're continually building that webpage. And while you're doing that, we received a question from a teacher who pointed out that a lot of times they are looking for people in their area who teach chess. They don't have time to learn necessarily, but they're wanting volunteers or finding out, is there anybody even in my area that's running a club, because it's not something that they would be familiar with. And we're working on an FAQ page with US Chess to answer questions like that. And there is a search function on the US Chess webpage where people can put in their city or their state and find clubs that are in their area. And so we're developing an FAQ page right now that will also be a part of that website. So we wanted to let you know those resources are coming. Okay, now if you have not had a chance to complete the survey, we're going to leave you that link so you can copy and paste it if you would like to complete it later with the 3 questions that we most wanted to get your feedback on. And we're also going to be sending this link out with the recording of this meeting, the video, as well as the survey and other information for the new website that we're developing for Chess and Education. If there are no other questions, I want to thank all of the members I see online from our Chess and Education Committee and the Scholastic Council, and Carol Meyer for her sharing the survey results and what we found. And I appreciate seeing so many of you registered and online on a Sunday evening. I hope to be in touch with you in the future, and I want to thank my co-chair, John Galvin, as well as the chair and vice chair of the Scholastic Council, John and Danny, so much. Carol, any final words? Anything else I need to share with everyone?
I just want to thank everybody for their interest and for participating this evening. We're really excited about what the future might hold for this community. So thank you for being part of it.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.